in kidnappings. Nkosi spoke about him yesterday. They found a communication between Nangi and this gentleman. And in actual fact, money transfers between Nangi and this gentleman, 300, 200,000 rand, a lot of money. And to the team, they were shocked and said, but the person is known as a private investigator dealing with kidnappings. How does he have a relationship with Nangi, who's known to be a kingpin in kidnapping? It could be that the person who's a private investigator is linked to Nangi. Because if you go back, honorable chair members, and check, majority, 90% of the time, well, this is a 90% I can talk about, maybe not the one of Jara Kumalo that you were fighting with them about. Majority of the people that are kidnapped are Muslim people. Majority of them, because they've got cash in their shops. And almost 100%, majority of the time, more than 90% of the time, there's a lump sum paid before they are released. And the person who's part of the negotiation is so-called expert investigator, private investigator, will always encourage the family to pay a certain amount. Not the full 20 million rands they're looking for, maybe half of it, but there's always payment. So here's this person who's known to be the lead expert in kidnapping, is exchanging money with Nangi. The team got worried, and they said, it means we have an enemy within, because this gentleman is this tight with the General Khan and the team that deals with kidnapping. Is this tied with Jarasmia, who's in charge of the investigation in the police? This gentleman. I'm talking about the private person. So the team picks that one up and say, this is something not right, it doesn't add up here. As they were interrogating, I don't know the how part, they discovered that the kidnapped individual is kept in a house in Mpumalanga. They traveled to Mpumalanga. They arrived in Mpumalanga in a particular house, and there was no one there. And when they engaged with the community around, the community said, we've been suspecting something dodgy happening in this house. But before you arrive, there were a lot of movement, cars that drove out with speed, and they left the place. And the owner of the house is the sergeant, the police sergeant. And this police sergeant stays in another house somewhere. And they directed the police to the next house. So the police moved with speed because they're looking for a kidnapped person. They went to the next house. When they arrived in the next house, they were told, this gentleman has gone to Mozambique. He has crossed with the person that's kidnapped to Mozambique. And the team then engaged with the people in Mozambique and said, looks like there's someone there in Mozambique that has crossed with the person that is kidnapped. So, and I heard there was a talk of, when you were sitting here, I was talking about the video that was available. There is a video available of a shop close by that shows police cars coming to the property and the police cars leaving the property. And later, the community is all over the place there. And later, the house is on fire. And the medical people come in to attend to that house. The video is there. Yeah, they're not just property. The house that was identified initially as a place where this one was kept. So his story on a confession that Molotra made when the police got him confirms this arrangement with Nangi. But Molotra then is found, eventually is brought back into South Africa. The How Party, remember, I'm not involved in this. And is taken with Nangi and everyone else. The team transport them to Devon for the case at Kwatuguza. But what I don't know what happened in that case, because the DPP contacted me and said, this team that was investigating this case, they messed up this case. And the DPP wrote a complaint via the NDPP to the PCI for disciplinary steps to be instituted against these members that were working on this investigation. So that's how the case was withdrawn from court. And this Nangi and this Molotra guy left. They were released because of that.
What if the man accused of orchestrating multi-million-rand kidnappings was also a respected businessman, living a life of luxury? And what if every time he was arrested, he was somehow walked free? This is the story of Esmael Nangy, a name now linked to ransom kidnappings, corruption allegations, and justice system under serious scrutiny. From a 35 million kidnapping to claims of torture, police misconduct, and political interference. This case is no longer just about crime. It's about power, influence, and unanswered questions. In September, businessman Zakaria Desai was abducted outside the Moscow in Kwadukuza. It was a brazen, calculated operation. Within hours, his family received a chilling demand, 35 million rand for his release. For 5 months, Desai was held captive. According to reports, his kidnappers sent videos and images of torture to his family, a psychological weapon designed to force payment. Eventually, he was released, but even after his freedom, the fear never left. In an interview with ENCA, Desai concealed his identity, too afraid to show his face. And in that same interview, he mentioned a name linked to the syndicate, Zakariyya.
The colonel said that, okay, now he's a colonel, but he was a captain at the time. He says he did not find the shot. He never picked the shot up from the gutter. The general gave him, so basically General CBR told him to work with the shot. So I'm sure maybe the captain at that time, obviously that's his superior, he has an instruction to follow, obviously because of the relationship that they have. So that's his boss, so he has to respect him.
Police eventually made arrests. Among those accused, Ishmael Nangy, alleged Kingpin, Stephen Brides, businessman, Samkeli Somlocha, a police officer. The case seemed solid until everything collapsed. In a shocking turn of events, prosecutors withdrew the charges in the Kwadukuza Magistrate Court. No conviction, no trial, no justice. The decision raised serious concerns about the National Prosecuting Authority. How does a case of this magnitude just fall apart? And more importantly, how does it keep happening? Because this wasn't the first time or the last. Ishmael Nangy is not your typical suspect. He's a wealthy Mozambican businessman with an international trucking empire. His companies operate across borders between South Africa and Mozambique. He owns a luxury home in Centurion, high-value assets and vehicles, a business generating steady income. On paper, he's successful, but authorities in Mozambique believe something else entirely. They allege that over 20 years, Nangy has been behind a network of kidnappings targeting wealthy individuals, a system built on surveillance, abduction, torture, and a ransom payment worth millions. Despite these allegations, Nangy maintains his innocence. The story took a darker turn during a parliamentary hearing at the Parliament of South Africa Ad Hoc Committee. One of the accused, Samkeli Somlocha, made explosive claims. He alleged that the suspects were transported in private vehicles, not police vans. They were taken to a farm and subjected to brutal torture. This alleged method included suffocation using plastic bags filled with water, physical assault, psychological humiliation. Even more shocking, Mlocha claimed that Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi, a senior official, was present during the interrogation. According to him, Mkhwanazi didn't just observe, he participated. These allegations have not been proven in court, but if true, they suggest something far more dangerous than crime, a system compromised from within.
2 tables and a neck. He had a plastic bag over his head, and he was being suffocated while handcuffed between 2 tables and had water poured over his face. 13.8. Lieutenant Colonel Dina Govender then entered the kitchen accompanied by the Provincial Commissioner, Lieutenant General Mkhwanazi. I was told by the Provincial Commissioner to undress till I was naked. I was instructed to squat before my co-accused private part and ask me to tell who the person that entered the room was by Lieutenant Colonel Govender. In this instruction, I was instructed by Lieutenant General Mkhwanazi to squat in front of the accused number 1's private part. I told Mr. Nangi that this was Lieutenant General Mkhwanazi, who is the Provincial Commissioner of KZN, and he was once the acting National Commissioner. 13.11. During the torture, the Provincial Commissioner was present and participated in the torture. He went as far as telling me that I should have rather committed suicide than coming to KZN.
After the charges were withdrawn, Nangy didn't disappear. Instead, he went on the offensive. He filed assault cases against police officers involved in his arrest. He claimed he was tortured, his property was stolen, including a Rolex, and his rights were violated. Suddenly, the man once accused of kidnapping was now accusing law enforcement. The hunters had become the hunted. The case deepens even further. Investigative figure Paul O'Sullivan has reportedly submitted documents to Parliament. These documents allegedly link Nangy to broader networks, including individuals connected to law enforcement. There are also claims of payments made to private individuals involved in kidnapping investigations. If true, this points to a disturbing possibility, a criminal ecosystem where money influences outcomes and justice becomes negotiable. So the question remains, who is Ishmael Nangy? A successful businessman wrongfully accused? Or a mastermind who has mastered the system itself, with victims still living in fear, cases collapsing, and allegations pointing in every direction? One thing is clear, the story is far from over. If you enjoyed this, make sure you like, subscribe, and turn on notifications.